Recording in progress. Well, okay. Welcome everyone to today's Making You a Priority webinar. My name is Helga Casey, and I'm one of your internal OSU EAP counselors. So let's just go through it. Just to let you know, your OSU Employee Assistance Program, we're actually a hybrid program. So there's the three of us here on site supporting our Buckeyes of all the campuses and WEX Med Center. We also have a partner called Impact Solutions, and they provide our community therapists as well as our work-life resources, just to let you know. So let's move on in. Today, we are going to talk about self-care and why it's so important. We're going to talk about making you a priority, but I'm doing this in a little bit of a different angle that I hope reaches you in a way that helps you really make yourself a priority, because we love talking self-care, but sometimes it doesn't really compute. So this might help you. We're going to talk about what energy has to do with it, and then some common barriers and some tips to help. All right. So oftentimes when we think of priority and we think about even putting ourselves as a priority, we get lost on this part of the definition, and it is the part that is 1B. Superiority in rank, position, or privilege. We feel like if we're going to take care of ourselves and make ourselves a priority, that somehow we are rising ourselves above others. And that does not compute in the brain for a lot of us, especially those of us in the caretaking professions. So I would rather you kind of look at the other portion of this definition that really spoke to me. And it's called, allocates goods and services. So if you look under 2, it says especially one that allocates rights to goods and services, usually in limited supply. Limited supply. Let's think about that. And then the second part of it, something given or meriting attention before competing alternatives. So Helga, thanks for sharing that. That's great that you're getting something from it, but what does that mean? When I think about us and putting ourselves as a priority, I think about limited supply as far as our time and our energy. That's usually the number one thing I hear from clients is I don't have the time nor the energy, Helga, to put myself first. I got to take care of everything else. Also, you merit your own attention. Now, a lot of us talk about the word deserve. We use that verb a lot. I deserve this or I don't deserve that. And that has a lot of implications to it, a lot of weight. When I read the word merit, technically the same kind of thing, it felt different. I merit that. So I want you to think about those words in that different way. Language is a lot of power in our self-talk as well. So let's go to this. You merit your own attention. So you actually are a priority. What I'm getting from what I want to share with you today from this slide has mostly to do with this article. So you've got hyperlinks on your PDF, so just click it and learn a little bit more. So no matter how often someone tells you, especially us therapists, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others in the aircraft. And then once you're breathing freely, you can assist someone else, right? How many times have we heard that metaphor? Before helping others, you've got to help yourself first, but that's kind of tough. Prioritizing yourself is complicated, especially when you're living through multiple disasters. Hello, could we have more things going on? We've got COVID, we've got a war in Ukraine, the poor women in Iran. There's so many things going on, let alone what we've got here on our home front. There's just so many things going on. So how do you say, I deserve more than this when people are suffering everywhere? The short answer, it's hard to say that you deserve or merit this, and it's necessary. It's necessary work. And my hope is that this webinar and this kind of perspective will give you some concept and ideas to help you through this. So even though the oxygen mask metaphor is really annoying at times and a cliche, that's because it's true. Even if you know it's necessary to rest and make time for self-care or put boundaries around toxic situations, doing it can feel unfamiliar, weird, and sometimes even wrong. Guess what, guys? You're not alone. A lot of us feel that way. And this is rooted in a lot of things. It's rooted in socially engineered constructs of what we think maybe a parent or a caregiver, employee, partner should do. Insert any social role. And even gender roles and expectations get into this, and other cultural norms make it really hard to prioritize ourselves. We can get lost in all the roles, should haves and should be and should do's. So healthy self-care gets trampled through all of that and all those constructs and really makes it difficult to do. There's even some other cultural norms around hard work, like rest is equivalent to laziness, or specific family ideals around showing up for one another, like love means never saying no. These beliefs can really make it hard to be unapologetic about your needs and desires. So if putting yourself first feels just a little unpleasant, once again, you're not alone. So this is kind of try to help you normalize that a bit. So like I said before, the number one reasons why my clients and even myself say that we don't do regular self-care and we don't make ourselves that priority is that there's not enough time and not enough energy. Now, remember that that definition earlier was of limited supply, right? So, well, you're right about time. Time is finite. We only have 24 hours in a day, whereas energy can be renewed. And this is just a different way to look at this all. So energy can be renewed and recovered. Yes, we can have limits on our energy. I'm hearing people already in Zoom land saying, Helga, I only have so much energy every day. This is what I'm trying to tell you is we can actually renew or recover energy. If we don't nurture and renew our energy supply, yes, we've got limits. But if we start investing in ourselves and making that a priority, holy shnikes, we've got a lot of opportunity here. Most of us are dealing with competing and increasing needs of our family, our work, and so forth. And if we keep just pushing through and not replenish our energy, making ourselves that priority, we're going to be met with declining levels of engagement at work and at home, distraction, even medical issues, and more. That's the cool thing here is energy can be renewed. Energy comes from 4 main well springs, and that's over there to the left of your screen. You'll see body, emotion, mind, and spirit. And by engaging in rituals or behaviors that are intentionally practiced, scheduled, and making these behaviors more automatic, we can start renewing and recovering. So if we think about your body, think about that as your basic energy level. So basics, we're talking sleep, nutrition, and exercise. If you're struggling with sleep, definitely try some different sleep hygiene options. If you're struggling with nutrition and exercise, holy moly, please utilize the OSU Health Plan health coaches. They are phenomenal, and you do not have to have the OSU insurance to use them. They're benefits eligible service. So as long as you're here 50% or more, you're employed here, 50% or more, you can utilize the health coaches, just like you can use EAP. So that might be a good place to go for that. Emotion. Think about that as the quality of your energy. So this is a quote from this below Harvard Business Review article. When people are able to take more control of their emotions, they can improve the quality of their energy, regardless of the external pressures they're facing. To do this, they first must become more aware of how they feel at various points during the workday and the impact these emotions have on their effectiveness. Most people realize they tend to perform best when they're feeling more positive energy. What they find surprising is that they're not able to perform well or lead effectively when they're feeling any other way. So that's a big one. So without the intermittent recovery, we're not going to be physiologically capable of sustaining highly positive emotions for long periods of time. We're going to be confronted with relentless demands and unexpected challenges, which has been work the last 3 years. Let's just keep that real. And people tend to slip into those negative emotions. If you've ever been in any of my trainings before, or even a former client of mine, you know, I always say the brain remembers the negative. So it's very easy to slide into that. And we get into that fight or flight mode, right? And we can get that multiple times during the day where we're just totally stressed in that moment. And those emotions, we can become irritable, impatient, and anxious, and even insecure. And those emotions can really drain our energy and cause friction in our relationships. I know everybody could raise a hand right now and say, yes, Helga, that is true. So when we can learn more and recognize what kinds of events trigger our negative or more unpleasant emotions, that can give us a lot more information, and we can gain greater capacity to take control of those reactions. So this is basically, when you think about that equality of energy, it's really talking about emotional intelligence. So the more we're aware of that, then your mind is the focus of energy. Okay, where's it going? Honestly, just say no to multitasking. Y'all know I'm not a fan of that one. It doesn't make sense, because what you're doing is you're constantly getting distracted when you're multitasking, and that's not helpful, and they're very costly. In fact, they say that the temporary shift in attention from one task to another, stopping to answer an email or take a phone call, for instance, this can increase the amount of time necessary to finish your primary task by as much to 25%, because you're multitasking. I think of multitasking as like a 1980s businesswoman walking down the street in her suit and her white Reeboks with big chunky socks. Unattractive to these standards, right? Now, not nice. So we really want to kind of bring that back and not multitask and do a task at a time. There are some suggestions. They say you could focus 90 to 120 minutes on a task and just make that block, and then take a real true break and move on to the next activity. Also, a lot of us might like the Pomodoro technique. That's where you can do 20 to 25 minutes of work and real focus, and then give yourself a 5 or 10-minute break in between that. And you can either resume the task or start a new task. So we want to be mindful of the focus of our energy. And then lastly, your spirit. This is the energy of your meaning and purpose, okay? This is the human spirit. This is the get-tos of your job or the get-tos of your work. And that can be work at home, that can be work at work. It's really finding the things that bring you that energy. Me, like I was talking to Caroline earlier, I really like finding new material and making it more presentable in these webinars. That jazzes me up, that gives me energy, and I can just follow that momentum. So think about your spirit of meaning and purpose. To be quite frank with you, energy and time are limited unless we're replenishing our energy, right? Recovering it. So pushing through, it's just not sustainable. Don't get me wrong. I have been a victim or guilty of pushing through, most definitely, especially these last 3 years, but it's not sustainable. It is fine for a while, but we know that the wear and tear is gonna happen. It's going to take a lot of wear and tear on us. So understanding that energy can be gained by focusing the 4 well springs is really powerful and gives us a whole different appreciation of self-care efforts. So another way that can help you is finding out which wellspring or energy type to start investing in. That you can take a personal energy audit. Please note, if you Google search this, you're going to have a lot of stuff from AEP come up. So that's why I wanted to give you the link. And of course, it's free, because Helga loves free stuff on the internet. So this is kind of cool. You can go to this Natural Happiness website and go to the resource toolkit for this personal energy audit. When you finish the audit, you kind of add your inflows and your outflow scores for each of the 4 energy types, and then you just total them. It's pretty easy. And if you're running an energy surplus, like, kudos to you, rock on, that's awesome. And if you're running an energy deficit, you can start having that conversation with yourself and ask yourself, what's causing this? What's contributing to this deficit? And ask yourself, where can I do a restoration or recovery? And you can continue to do these audits periodically as a way of measuring your progress and steering you into your priorities. And it's also helpful to evaluate major decisions about your job or lifestyle in advance. So this is a really useful self-assessment tool. Talking about energy, I would be remiss if I did not talk about those of us with chronic illness. It's real easy for me to sit up here and spout all this great stuff about energy, but those of us who have like autoimmune disease, et cetera, really do struggle with energy. And we've typically looked at energy more on a physical type basis. So take the spoon theory, for instance. Energy looks different for those of us with chronic illness. It really does feel like there's a limit. So this helps us determine how much energy units we have, or how many energy units we have, and how much we need to expend that day. So when you think of a spoon as one energy unit, how many spoons do I need to complete a task or even get through my day, right? So if you look at the screen, it says 1 spoon to either get out of bed, that would be 1 spoon. Maybe for some people, it's also getting dressed, maybe 1 spoon. Taking your medication is another unit of energy. And then maybe watching TV could be a unit of energy. And then as you go further, going to work or school, that takes more energy, right? Because we're being more social, we're physically having to travel, all of those things. It could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be any of those 4 well springs, the meaning and fulfillment. So the spoon theory, as I said, has traditionally been used to measure units of energy in regards to physical. I use this for the other well springs too. There are some days I'm just like, yeah, I don't have enough meaning and fulfillment. I'm feeling depleted. I've got like maybe 3 spoons that I can work on that is going to, get me through the day. And then others, I'm like, I've got plenty of spoons physically to get me through. So just a different way to think of that, and be considerate that not all of us are gifted with the same amount of energy, and it all can feel very different for each one of us. So finding out how you see and feel that is really important. So just some general energy depleting behaviors that are easy to justify in the moment, but are hurtful in the long term. Taking things too personally. This is a big thing we talk about in therapy. It's when we attribute every interaction a person has with you to how they feel about you. It's exhausting, and more often than not, it's not accurate. Chances are the other person's behavior, mannerisms, whatever the issue is, or their tone has nothing to do with you. And you assuming that it has something to do with you really can impact the situation in a not helpful or productive way. So if you cannot take things personally, it can save you a lot of stress, especially in the workplace, and a lot of needless strain. So kind of take a little inventory on that one. Rushing without planning. Most people have a lot on our plates. Let's face it, when it comes to finishing tasks, carrying out our errands, or pursuing life goals. But if we can do a little bit of preparation, it can also save a lot of energy and time on the back end of it. So if you can even just do a quick regroup with yourself, do a level set and make a quick plan, that's better than rushing without planning. I've already told you about multitasking. It is not recommended. It is just a bunch of distraction, and you're constantly expending energy to get back on task. So if you can afford yourself some opportunities and time blocking, either the 90 to 120 minutes like that was suggested, or the Pomodoro technique, which is about 20 minutes, 20, 25, that can be really helpful. This hurt a little too close to home, procrastinating. Yeah, not every task assigned to you will interest you. And a lot of times we may perceive that a task is a lot bigger than what it is, so we just keep pushing it off. Remember that whole thing that the brain remembers the negative, and it might overinflate some things, so we avoid them. Really try to harness your attention and work towards getting part of that project or task done. And usually on that momentum, you can keep going and complete the task. So that procrastinating wastes a lot of energy because we backfill it with anxiety and worry. We do. Complaining. Now, please note, I love a good vent session just like anybody else. But if it is ongoing complaining, that is also an energy sinker. We constantly are complaining, some of us, about things going wrong, plans failing, people acting unfairly, stuff keeps happening all the time. It's the habit of complaining, though. It's okay to vent every once in a while, but if you're just sitting in that complaint box, you are just depleting your energy and you're not helping yourself. So address what you can, identify what's within your control and influence, and deal with it. And if you need help dealing with it, therapists and also, what's the other term? Life coaching can help with that as well. So if we're constantly checking emails and social media, this goes back to the whole piece of multitasking. When we do the social with emails and social media, we literally can fall down that rabbit hole of time. And remember, time is finite. So it can be a real waste of your energy too, because you're expending energy on processing all that information. Like TikTok, even though I love it, I'm really wasting my energy. So be mindful, use it in appropriate doses. Not following through and overcommitting, that's a big one, because when we don't do that, it can be an issue. We also take on too much. We start getting nervous and anxious about it, or people start thinking about us a little bit differently. That's not always fun. So along with that, just don't overcommit so much. If you have to say no or do a temporary boundary, I had to do one recently. Somebody wanted me to do something in October for work. And I'm like, yeah, my October dance card is full. I'm available in November. And it was tough to say no. But it's better than me not being able to follow through or not giving a good product at the end. So that's important. Gossiping too. I mean, do I really have to say this? But yes, discussing and creating drama does nothing to advance your career or build better relationships. In fact, it makes people not trust you. It really does challenge your integrity. If you need to talk about how something impacted you and experience, that's fine. But be mindful of talking trash about your coworkers, your friends, or your family. Don't get me wrong, it's delicious in the moment, yet the costs are far outweigh the benefits of gossiping. So be mindful of that. Overthinking, and that is after you've made a decision, you constantly perseverate. Did I make the right decision? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The decision's done. It's a time for you to tell yourself, you know what? I made the best decision with the time I had, with the knowledge that I had, and what I had accessible to me. I need to give myself some grace. And if something unplanned or unpleasant comes from this, I will take that information and use that with my next assessment for my next decision, and really give yourself that grace. And then those of us who are the people pleasers, constantly trying to please others, yeah, it doesn't help, because that is going to get you more off of making you a priority. And it also just depletes your energy. If you're constantly looking to please and you don't get that reinforcement, or you only get some of it, you're left hollow. And that's not a great feeling. And then you have to replenish that. So be mindful of that. Some common barriers to self-care in general. And that's what we're really talking about, right? This energy replenishment recovery is about self-care. A lot of people tell me I have no motivation for self-care. You know what? It doesn't have to be overwhelming, like this giant project that you're trying to start. It literally can be drinking some water. Literally, it can be something like that, little bits and often. It could you having a boundary and saying no. It doesn't have to be this huge thing that I'm doing self-care. It's the little bits and often. That's what we want to do, just like physical exercise. A lot of people can feel guilty about spending time or money taking care of themselves. This is what we need to understand, that self-care is not pampering or indulgent. It really is daily living activities like taking a shower, good nutrition, making sure you're hydrated, those types of things, meditation to get yourself a little bit more clear or level set, going for a walk at lunch. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be a huge spa week, and it doesn't need to be indulgent. So that's okay. There's also just a lack of awareness. When we're constantly taking care of other people, there's a lack of our own personal boundaries. And we can get preoccupied with a loved one's illness or worrying about their symptoms. And that can really eclipse seeing your own. So nurture your interests, especially those of you, because we are in the sandwich generation at OSU, average age of employees 42. So we have the families of origin and the families we've created, and we're kind of starting to get in that caretaking role, or have been in that caretaking role. It's very easy to get lost in our mom role or our daughter role or our whatever insert sibling role, nibbling role. It does not matter. We can get lost in those roles and get into that caretaking space. We want to kind of step back and just nurture some of our own interests outside of those roles. A lot of people think self-care is weak. It's not. I'm trying to tell you, it's vital. You have a limited supply of energy and time is finite. So how do we get more? We have to nurture ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves. Once again, putting those others' needs first, this kind of goes in with that lack of awareness. And we keep saying, well, I'll take care of myself tomorrow. I'll get on my water regimen tomorrow, or I'll go for a walk tomorrow. Tomorrow needs to be today. You attending today's seminar or webinar, this is a little self-care piece. So good for you. You get a little check mark today, adult win. And a lot of people say it takes too much time. That's a big, big one, like I referred to earlier. It really doesn't. Let's get a more accurate picture of what's going on and what it really takes. It really doesn't take time. It takes intentionality. And then there's some of us who think that we're not worthy of self-care, that I'm just supposed to keep pushing through. No, you are worth it and you merit your own attention. I know there's a lot of messages and social constructs that have bought into that narrative or message that you received. I can't challenge it enough. Just as a human being, a body working, in order to keep moving, you've got to replenish your energy, which means putting you as a priority and creating that energy. Lastly, the truth is that our favorite version of ourselves gets to come forward when you take care of yourself first. When you nourish your own energy, you have more energy for others. Not only does it feel good, it provides you with grounded sense of being. And the people closest to you, they also get the benefit of the favorite version of you. So in fact, when you are a priority, it's the opposite of being selfish. It's actually selfless. Our bodies were not meant to work nonstop. We're designed to listen to our bodies and give them what they need. And for the most, the daily nourishment in the form of the idea of like, what fills your cup? What do you need in order for that energy renewal? So if self-care, if that's been a struggle for you, if you want to re-envision it as energy renewal, that might be a concept that you can more easily grasp and really invest in yourself. And these are two great articles as well that I'd love you to take a look at if you'd like to know more information about this. I'm just going to briefly go over what we are. Hi, we're the OSU EAP. We offer you the 5 complimentary counseling sessions. We also offer you work-life resources and of course, more wellness workshop and programs. If you need to access us, 1-800-678-6265, our hybrid partner, Impact Solutions, answers that phone 24/7. You can also go on our EAP portal and make your own account. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at eap@osumc.edu. And let's not forget about those health coaches. They're phenomenal. Give them a call at 614-292-9983, or you can go ahead and email them. Do it. They've been really helpful. A lot of my clients have gone to the health coaches and they absolutely love the experience. And I'm going to go just here for questions and comments.